the Guys Plus Zach, noted diversity and inclusion expert in the United States of America. Gentlemen, welcome to another week of Five Guys on Live. And to all our viewers, if you're out there, please get ready to engage and chat and join in tonight's discussion. Somebody has some background, so we're going to ask, of course, that you mute. If you're not talking, we know who it is, Dr. Pickett. Now, that's what I'm talking about. We are ready to jump right into a number of really exciting topics, or I wouldn't even say exciting, but definitely some topics that will probably stir some controversy, beginning with what we know to be the continuous increase in COVID-19 cases, particularly among children, as we have now returned to school in a number of places around the United States. Vince, what do you say about this?
Yes. Let's get right into it. So according to Fortune.com, the Delta variant has placed schools nationwide into a frenzy. In Florida, Mississippi, and Louisiana, thousands of school children and teachers are in quarantine after being exposed to COVID-19. Districts in Kentucky and Georgia have shuffled opening plans, while others in Indiana and South Carolina have switched to remote learning. For the week ending in August 12th, children represented 18% of U.S. cases, compared with the 14.4% of the total since the pandemic began. Also, child cases have jumped 9.1% since the start of July, slightly faster than the overall population's growth of 7.5%. So with all those numbers and just, I know many of you all are educators, a part of the panel. Just go ahead and put it out there. What's your thoughts? What's the solution? Let's take it from there. Do you think that we should go back virtual? Should we widen the vaccine age to go from, I know we're at 12 years old and up right now. Should it, start at 8 years old or 7 years old or what have you? And was this poorly thought out and managed, or is this just inevitable? Could we not have prevented this, at all? What's your thoughts around it?
So I will definitely kind of jump in here and share some of this, again, this data. What we see right here is that, again, this is as of August the 6th. We know these numbers have drastically increased to where we had, an actual account of over almost 400,000 children under the age of 12 having been diagnosed with COVID-19. This data chart, however, really doesn't do justice to the gravity of this situation. This one, however, does. I want everyone watching to take a moment and just look at this. Just take a moment. I'm going to blow it up. Look at this. This is data as of August the 20th. And you see an increase of 720% since May 21st of children dealing with COVID-19. A 356% increase of them being hospitalized and a 229% increase in their actual deaths. This is a heartbreaking statistic. I am hopeful that it is going to persuade the unvaccinated to do what they need to do to protect their children if they're not willing to protect themselves. But I'm afraid if you have been unwilling to get vaccinated at this point, there isn't a whole lot that's going to be done to fix it. In regards to schools and what schools need to do, I firmly believe that the majority of United States schools, they need to shut down now. They need to go virtual right now and take a break until September the 5th, with extreme protocols being put in place to return to school. In order to come back into the schoolhouse, you need to have a negative COVID test. And you can't come back into the schoolhouse until a negative COVID test has been gained. Now, we know that's not going to happen, but that is what Zachary Kirk says should happen to protect the lives of children and the adults that are being forced to educate them.
Zach, I would even argue with the Labor Day holiday coming up, September 5th wouldn't even be smart because as we've seen continuously, cases always rise, and they do 2 weeks after any holiday. So I would say push it out even more. But what's more concerning and confusing for me is that people are showing up at board meetings, they are picketing, they are going crazy because they don't want mask mandates in the school. And there was one lady on there, and she was like, my daughter has a beautiful face, and I just want her teacher to be able to see her face and to see her. And I'm just like, at what expense are you worried about the teacher seeing your child's face with a covering over their mouth when children are getting hospitalized at alarming rates, when the cases are rising, when schools are going back all over the nation, and in some places they can't even require a mask mandate because the state won't allow them to. So it's like, you don't want the mask mandate, you don't want the virtual school, you don't want the vaccine, you don't want the social distancing. What do you want to do? And I think everybody knows the answer, what's going to happen.
Well, I probably have one of the, and I'm just going to make an assumption, most unpopular view right now on this, because it has hit my family, especially with a child who is school age, I think, going to kindergarten, and so in the state of Mississippi. And so, like, for me, I'm very like nonchalant about it. I think right now teachers should be mandated to get vaccines. If they not, they don't have a job. I also think that if your family and parents are not vaccinated, you teach your kid at home and stay at home. But the kids who do have those parents, they can go back to class. I just feel like that's where we at. I don't want to be that extreme, but I think that that's what we need to be right now to protect the lives of those who are in the schools, but also attending at home as well.
Zach, I don't find that to be unpopular at all. I actually agree with that because of the fact at the end of the day, we still have parents. Again, at the end of the day, there's still parents who aren't taking the precautions themselves. So you have these parents who are out doing whatever they want to do, and God knows where, and still are putting your child and other people's at risk. And so at the end, and we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago talking about, should we make it required for the people to do it at work? No matter what the case may be, we still have parents who, kids can only do so much, right? And so we still have to make sure they're doing their mask and everything else. But at the end of the day, what happens to those parents who still aren't taking their own personal risk as well? And so I'm with you. The school that I actually sit on the board for, we have closed school until Labor Day, but we actually took that additional week after Labor Day because we are very clear that even after, once big holidays happen, we're very clear that that's some of the bigger issues as well. So as Darius was saying, these schools need to go even beyond that. We're even looking at possibly saying, listen, we're probably going to keep closed until October, and then we'll just do a case by case. We'll do month by month and case by case. So at this point, but if we're going to shut it down, it has to shut down now. We can't wait until we're down the road and now we're doing those same hiccups again. Let's go ahead and get these devices to these parents now. Let's go ahead and let these parents go ahead and be able to find ways to, to do like they did before. Let's go ahead and do it now and not wait to the bitter end. And now we're struggling again.
But my question to you all educators, and I recently saw this on the only place I really get my news is Good Morning America, about the learning pause or the learning stop for kids. Do you think stopping school will continue to prolong that gap?
Zach, let me tell you what's a learning stop. You know what's a learning stop? A learning stop is when the baby's in the grave and ain't gonna never learn again because they're dead. That is a learning stop, and that is the worst case scenario, but that is what we have. Let me tell you, it is unavoidable that we are gonna lose the unnecessary lives of children. It's gonna happen. We have already suffered through the heartbreak of so many innocent Americans who cared about themselves, who tried to take care of themselves, succumbing to COVID-19. But now we're going to go through a whole nother wave of losses that will involve children who are absolutely unable to do anything other than live in the homes of their anti-mask and anti-vax parents. And that is that's heartbreaking. American education is going to rebound if given the chance to rebound. It's going to happen. But here is the true, tragedy in what we have happening. When COVID-19 first hit, one case caused all schools to shut down and all kids to be out of school. When COVID-19 first came on the scene, we had a massive amount of national uniform effort to curb the spread and to provide resources to assist schools and governments and the average everyday American. All that money is gone. But not only is all of that money gone, so is the sentiment around the money. So now schools are literally without the resources to deal with shutting down. Educators only get 10 days a year of sick leave. Many educators are being forced to quarantine for 7 days, and they're losing 7 of 10 days. Now imagine if they quarantine and then have to quarantine for a second time because 2 kids in the class got COVID-19, or if they have to quarantine because they themselves have COVID-19 or someone in their household has COVID-19. We all know that educators don't make the wages that they should. And imagine if you are a young or new educator and you don't have excess of days. That is the tragedy of the situation. There was money set aside in CARES Act last year that helped solve that problem. That money isn't there this year, and nobody's really addressing that. That is the silent pain that my friends who are still in the classroom are having to deal with, and it infuriates me. And there's no one to blame for that except the American people and Joseph R. Biden.
I was informed of another situation where one of my friends' child was exposed to COVID in the school. Her child, though they don't have a mask mandate at the school, her child always wears a mask because that is the requirement at their homes, that you go to school, you wear a mask. So she says that the principal came down to the classroom, called 5 or 6 students out. None of them had on masks except for her child. The principal told them that they had been exposed to COVID-19 and that they needed to wear a mask for the rest of the week while they monitor their symptoms and see if they end up contracting it. So you send students back to a classroom without a mask that you know have been exposed to COVID-19, and then you put all of the lives of the other students and their families at jeopardy. I don't trust schools to manage COVID-19 in an effective way because they're not healthcare professionals. They just need to send all the children home and stop playing these reindeer games because somebody's going to end up seriously ill because of this negligence. And my friend was so anti-vaccine. That day, she went and got a shot because all she could think was, my child going to school should not result in me getting COVID-19. So I just think that it's negligence on all sides, and they're going to have to shut down these schools in order to curb this COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, I don't think they're going to shut down the schools. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't believe they're going to shut down the schools, but they need to shut down the schools. I don't think that they're going to. We still have leaders of school systems fighting against mandatory mask mandates that they know will save the lives of children. And that is what we're grappling with and what we're dealing with. And it's heartbreaking. When you talk about a child wearing a mask, I talked to a good friend of mine today. I won't say her name, but she's a really close friend. She and her husband both had COVID-19, but their children in their house with them did not get it. Her son literally wears a mask all the time. Like, he's never taken the mask off. He now has COVID-19. He's too young to get vaccinated. He now has COVID-19 in a house with 2 adults that had COVID-19, didn't get it. Goes to school for 1 week and now has COVID-19. That is what we're dealing with, and that is the heartbreak around the ignorance that has perpetuated American society. And again, the Delta variant is extremely contagious. Don't forget, just want to keep this graphic in the forefront. The original COVID strand, for every 1 person, of the 2 people get infected by that. You have a room of 4 people, 2 of the 4 would get it. But look how contagious the Delta variant is. 1 person now infects about 6 people on average. Vaccines will not protect you from getting the Delta variant, but will protect you, in theory, we hope, from hospitalization, severe infection, and death. But I'm not going to be honest with you, I don't necessarily know if that's true. I think I may have said it on this broadcast weeks ago. And I think that was my first time coming out saying that I didn't believe something that was coming from the mouth of American science leaders in the CDC. When I said it is impossible for me to know as many people with breakthrough infections that I know if this really was a 1% chance. There were like maybe this was like last month. There were too many people on my Facebook timeline who I saw their vaccination cards. I know they were vaccinated. They were diligent and vigilant to stay back to get the vaccine. And now they had COVID-19. There's no way it's only 1% of people getting it with breakthrough infections. I believe that breakthrough infections may be almost as likely as for the vaccinated as a regular infection is for the unvaccinated with the Delta variant. I am going on record and saying that I believe that the science will eventually catch up to that reality, because I am seeing too many people getting these breakthrough infections.
But you see, Zach, you bring up a very valid point. And I think the thing that I've been struggling to come to terms with is when we play the blame game, you know, we talk about the education system, we talk about the Biden administration, but I feel like when we talk about science, when we talk about the scientists that, you know, assisted in navigating and constructing and developing these vaccines and the information and so on and so forth, I know that they were placed between a rock and a hard place. Like, I know that. I really actually feel that, like, the World Health Organization and CDC was bullied in order for us to remove those mask mandates. I really think that just came from our political powers that be. I think in their perfect world, the mask should have not even been taken off of our faces till maybe the top of this summer. We were getting rid of those masks in March or April or whatever that month was, if you will. But at the same time, it's like, when you think about science, and even when you think about just other quote unquote pandemics or viruses that came prior to COVID or what have you, and we know that these viruses tend to evolve, it just seems like the trajectory on this COVID thing, like the prevention plan, or like, hey, should we really be doing this because there are potential variants that could come about? It's like, were those conversations even there? Were those conversations even being considered? Because at the end of the day, like I said, last week or the week before last, we got Kappa, Lambda, Iota, all the Greek alphabet letters that could potentially become variants. And I don't want to say put fault, but I put a lot of investment and energy on what is the science saying. Are you truly vetting through in the thicks and the crevices of this virus in order to, you know, create a better prevention plan or a better manageable trajectory? And I just don't think that science conversation is coming out in that space. Whenever we hear science, it's vaccine, 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 vaccine. It's never prevention. It's never updates about COVID. It's never about strands. It's never about all the other things that could lengthen and elongate this process to, like, goddamn 2025. Like, we're not talking about that. And I just see this becoming an unfortunate cycle, if you will, until that portion of the conversation, which affects all industries, all capacities, all ways of life at the end of the day, you know, comes to the forefront.
It's not going to be talked about because the American desired demographic doesn't want to hear it. And I agree with you, Horatio, 100%. This is about Biden wanting to win over voters who will never vote for him, but instead will always vote for this super spreader. This super spreader is Donald J. Trump, twice impeached, failed to get reelected, Florida retiree. And this past weekend, this man held a rally in Cullen, Alabama, where I don't know the reason. Maybe just for fun. Maybe he was at home bored. He had gotten tired maybe of eating his green beans. You know, I don't know. But Zach Thomas, tell us a little bit more about this Cullen rally.
So your ex-president, Donald J. Trump, held a rally, as you said, in Cullen, Alabama, where he had a number of individuals there. But the highlight of the rally actually is when he actually told the audience to get vaccinated. He said, of course, in his true fashion, want to say everything was done under his administration. So he said this was invented. All three of them was invented during his administration. He took it and he thinks it's good. But of course, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to. And that's when they booed him. Mind you, Alabama has one of the lowest rates of vaccination as far as incubation of the vaccine in the whole union. And so it's usually Mississippi at 50, but Alabama is above us this time. And so my question to you all, what do you think about this? What do you think about our ex-president or your ex-president saying and for the vaccine?
Wow. Yeah. So I tried to watch the entire, moment. I just gave Trump a good 30 seconds of my time. But like you just said, Zach, and I quote, this is what he said: "You got your freedoms, you have to maintain that, but I recommend having the vaccine, but maintain your freedoms." So it's like, what we doing? Where you going? What you trying to say? And I feel like even him commenting on get the vaccine was definitely like a PR type of thing. I don't even think that was authentically him, even in the midst of him trying to take credit and ownership of, you know, producing the vaccines under his administration. He knows that his base is anti-vaxxers. So him playing into that card in that moment, I truly think that that was just force, like somebody pushed him to just put that out there, and we saw the reaction. I think for me, the most alarming part of that rally was they were waving Save America banners behind him. And in my mind, I'm like, Save America how? Because if you look at Biden, if you look at Trump, I mean, we was gonna be in this hole anyway. Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. Trump was gonna pull out of Afghanistan. You know, Biden doing this with the vaccines. Trump was gonna do the same thing with the vaccines. So what exactly is he? What is he going to save, or how is he going to say? I just don't understand. I still don't understand the Trump voter. But then I also have to go back, Zach. You may remember this way back when we were talking about Trump before the election happened. We got to recognize that the motive is bigger than the man. These anti-vaxxers in the Republican Party, we can literally strip the face of Trump, the person of Trump, and focus on the internal issues and desires by which the Republicans are governing themselves by. It could literally be Mary Had a Little Lamb. If Mary Had a Little Lamb said, I don't want a vaccine, every Republican in the country, we're voting for Mary Had a Little Lamb. It don't even matter at this point. And I think that is the true conversation that we need to be having with those people. Like, why are you thinking this way? Why do you feel this way? Why are you anti-everything, anti-vax, anti-science, anti-this, anti-that? Like, why? That is the true issue, not even Trump anymore, in my opinion.
I don't want to have not one conversation with not one. These people are sitting down. These people are sitting down and they are taking some kind of sheep worm medication of some sort, some kind of like veterinary medication. What is it?
A cow dewormer.
There are people who are, you know what? There are people in my home state of Mississippi who are willing to inject their bodies with the deworming medication of a cow instead of taking a scientifically developed COVID-19 vaccine. There is nothing that I can say to these people that will have any impact. All I will be doing is wasting my time. Here's a prime example. Donald Trump went down there to Cullen, Alabama, and I'm gonna give you this man's quote in his voice. Are you ready? Now you look at this man right here. I'm gonna tell you what he said. Are y'all ready? Maybe Trump's actually a dumbass, Jones said on his show a day after the former president encouraged people to get vaccinated. I know you expected something else, but I gave you exactly what I felt he would sound like. So again, there's no reasoning with this. There's no reasoning with these people. None whatsoever. And Candy agrees. Refuse to reason with these people because clearly they are uneducated. Or they have been miseducated by resources like Fox News, Newsmax, and One American News Network.
Also, what was funny during the rally is that he was talking about how he got advice from a 5-year-old on what's happening in Afghanistan, and how he asked the 5-year-old, so would you leave the military over there, or would you leave knowing that all this stuff is happening? And the 5-year-old said, I would stay. That's your ex-president.
Donald Trump has finally found someone at his level of education that he can truly reason with. So maybe he should have had a kindergarten cabinet, and that may have boded better for the people of the United States of America.
I thought he did. Wasn't Betsy DeVos in preschool?
Basically, I don't know what Donald Trump has been smoking, nor do I know what Sha Carri Richardson has been smoking. DeAndre, tell us about your girl, Sha Carri.
We went from COVID-19 to Richardson 21 because, or Richardson 9 to be exact, because our baby girl, Sha Carri Richardson, finished 9th in her first race since her 30-day suspension over a failed drug test, which kept her out of competing for the Tokyo Olympics. And there was much anticipation about this particular race because coming off of the Tokyo Olympics, where the Jamaican team swept the races in which she would have been a potential favorite in, she came back and she was given a chance to come forth and prepare and show her talents among the three medalists. Not only did she not perform to the top level of the three medalists, she performed at the back of the pack in the 9th place. According to our sister Richardson, she was still optimistic. She quoted the following. She said, "Count me out if you want to. Talk all the shit you want because I am here to stay. I'm not done," she said after the race. A lot of people felt that her level of humility was lackluster. They felt that she did not necessarily possess the true essence of all the stir up that she once gave everybody, and felt that she should have performed a little bit better, especially when she had enough time in between the Olympics and now to prepare. Not to mention these women just came off of running these major races. So the question I have for the panel on tonight is, what are your thoughts about her response? What do you think about her performance? And where does she go from here?
I don't know. I just feel like sometimes people build you up so they can tear you down. And I feel like she was tweeting. I know she was tweeting about the Olympics and how the Olympics was missing because she wasn't there and all this stuff. And I think she even made a comment about how she would have swept them or something like that, something to that effect. So it's just, just that, like you said, like that lack of humility, because you all know, like with athletes, they're only as good as their last competition, if you will. And so it'll take a minute for her to get back into the swing of things. But I do think that she's been so busy running around to red carpets. So maybe she hasn't been busy running around the track and conditioning because it is, these are the most competitive people in the world in this event for them to be competing at the Olympics. So sometimes I think that you can kind of get a little big-headed, but I'm hoping that this situation will encourage her to go harder and to get back into it in the way that she was before. But I definitely do not delight in anyone's, not doing as well as they would like to do. So I just hope that, this was a wake-up call that she needs to get back to the business of the sport, which is what she is, supposed to be doing, or has dedicated her entire life to, be this competitive. So she needs to get back into it.
So Facebook user, tell us who you are, because it just popped up on my Facebook user. I don't know if it pops up like that for everybody. Sha Carri got a nice slice of humble pie on Saturday. I want to see her win, but she really needs to invest in some social media training and how to properly give an interview. Maybe, that's a good point that you're bringing up. I'm not saying I disagree, because as you know from how I feel about Little Nas X, I don't like unnecessary pomp and circumstance from a human being's heart. But would we feel this way about Sha Carri if she was a male? Do we feel like this? She gives me the same vibes as a Muhammad Ali. Hey, my love, how are you doing? She gives us the same vibes as Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather. Like, is this not the same kind of vibe? Like, would we want her to be humble if she wasn't a female?
And see, it's in these moments where, because I'm one of those ones where I will step in and say, listen, we have to make sure we protect the women. But it's in these moments I got to be very careful when I toe that line, because those people have also, over the course of their career, have shown themselves to be able to back that up, if you will. This young lady is just getting on the scene. And the fact of the matter is, because you're just getting on the scene, it's like one of those situations where if you the big shite talker on the playground, and you're talking about you can beat everybody's tail, the goal is hopefully you can back that stuff up. And then when it comes down to it and you can't back it up, that becomes a problem. And so you can't play victim when you can't play victim in these moments of, if I would, because mind you, just not long ago is, or if I was there, I could have done this and done that. Okay, big boo-boo. But when you get the chance, it's time for you to now show up. And the fact of the matter is she did not show up. Now, I'm not saying at the end of the day that she's right or wrong. I'm just saying we have to be very careful about how we position ourselves, or we put ourselves in one light, and then we kind of fall back in victim mentality and expect everybody to be on our side because of the fact that we kind of talk something that we couldn't necessarily back up. And so I agree. No, I don't think I think if she was a male who had not, who is not, who just kind of got on the scene and needed a little sense of humility, because we did the same thing. Perfect example. We did the same thing. I can't think of his name at this exact moment, but the young man who's the boxer from my hometown of Cincinnati, when he lost his bout, because he talked a lot of smack about being a boxer, and when he got that loss and got his tail kicked, they ate him alive because they said, bro, you have not been in this long enough to be talking all the yip yap you have, and it's just one loss. Take your loss and just go forth and move from there. Don't be talking all the yip yap. And so I'm just one of the individuals like, listen, take your loss, move forward, but you don't have to add all the extraness, because we still love you, and we love you more if you just stay back and just stay humble with it and move forward. That's just my only opinion about that one.
I don't want her to be humble. I'm one of those people that I don't care about people being humble. Just make sure that you are, about the work and doing what you need to do in order to remain competitive, because I do want to see her be successful and continue to be successful. But I don't ever want anyone to be humble. Talk your shit.
I'm sorry.
I agree. I agree. I see both arguments, if you will. For me, Zach, I am a huge advocate for media training. I think that media training is a lost art. We see that with what happened with the baby. We see that with a lot of these Gen Z artists and these Gen Z celebrities. They talk out of turn, don't really know how to interview well, all of that. So I thoroughly believe that these talent agencies and representatives need to get these Gen Z people into some media training, some artist development, PR training, so on and so forth. However, I will say I agree with Darius. I mean, you got to think, she didn't say anything any different than what these rappers say. I mean, Nicki was talking ish before she even, became like a number one, this, that, and the third.
Megan into this.
No, I'm just saying, but a lot of rappers, a lot of rappers say that, if they believe that they're the greatest, then they gonna say that right out the gate. Hell, we heard Jacquees say he the king of R&B. Everybody was like, you the king of what? But he believed that. He believed it. And I think one thing that we also have to recognize is in terms of Sha Carri's perspective, like with her not running in the Olympics, and yes, she said that thing. I think she was like, y'all miss me yet? Or whatever she said during that. Like, I think a lot of people, her fan base can surpass that type of banter, if you will, because she represents something larger. And I think people wanting to see, or a sister that looks just like her, just wanting to see someone like her competing in the Olympics, just being there speaks volumes versus then quote unquote winning a race, if you will. And we also have to recognize, we brought up Beyonce, like Beyonce wasn't built in a day. We can look at Destiny's Child Beyonce versus Beyonce 2021. It's two completely different women. We could talk about that Survivor. What they say there is, what was that lyric in Survivor? We sold millions that when she was like, come on. Thought that I can be in without you now. Self-destruct, but I'm still here. Whatever. We sell millions, whatever. And then like every year she said, we sold 10 million, we sold 50 million, we sold 200 million, yada, 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 or what have you. And now she just learned how to bring it in and just let her talent speak for herself. So as we got a chance to see Beyonce involved, let's continue to support Sha Carri and watch her evolve and not tear her down, because I still think we're eager to tear people down.
Yeah, I don't want to tear her down, but at the same time, she was beaten by other Black women, right? Like I'm not going to be able to support her just because she has gained a national following for smoking weed. Not me. So I'm not a fan. Like I'm not gonna run behind Sha Carri Richardson just because the media has now put her out there as like the hero of the generation because she chooses, to smoke weed and got an endorsement deal. Personally, again, Sha Carri was beaten by other Black women. So I praise them for beating her and winning. Everybody in that race, they were better than her on that day.
And she gave props to those women as well. I mean, I must commend her in saying that she gave props to those women. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with the whole media training kind of thing. I often say this, especially in the work that I do, we oftentimes hire for diversity, but train for assimilation. We want people to be their authentic selves. If that's who she is, show up and show out. Just back it up. I'm like Darius, just back it up. I don't want you to assimilate to what people think you might need to say or how you should say it to appease the audience or to appease another group of people. Be you, but make sure you back it up.
But doesn't that become a liability though? That becomes a liability for the company of what if you're trying to get a job and you come in as you are, if you want a 6-figure job and you coming in talking like Joe Bob down the street wearing shoulda woulda coulda clothing, but this is who you naturally are, is that not a liability for the company?
No,
or the
obviously the company don't want diversity if they don't want somebody to show up who they are. Like, you need to show up because you're gonna get all of my identities that I show up as. But how many times are we leaving?
That's not realistic, Zach. That sounds great from where you sit, because you sit in an actual seat of power in the world of diversity and inclusion. But let me tell you, Zachary Kirk cannot show up at his job with all of his identities on full blast. No, I can't paint my nails and go to my job.
Thank you, Darius. You choose not to because you're afraid of what people might say.
I choose not to because I know the realities of the world I live in and the spaces that I have to inhabit and navigate. And those spaces have yet to be disassembled. Now I am putting in the work to tear down those spaces, but they're still there, and I still have to live in that space.
You don't have to.
And see, here's the problem with that, and that becomes very blindsided, because you have to understand, especially being Black men in education, there are certain things that we cannot be in the educational system, and you are held to a different standard when in the education system. I cannot be who I am and then expect to be received in a way in my school system and think that I could or cannot be hot, still stay have my job afterwards. I've told y'all a story on this particular live that I literally almost had to move jobs and positions because of the fact that I had parents who may have found out certain things about me and I possibly couldn't coach basketball again, or I had to be a certain way because of the fact that they may think that you may want to touch their sons or do this. And so at the end of the day, I hear all that, but you can't fully be your authentic self. The second part of that thing is going back, and I'm so glad Dr. Black came on this thing, because we want to talk about, I understand that concept of humility, but again, I learned that Zach's definition of humility from Dr. Black is humility is one's ability to correct oneself, to correct others, and to seek and receive correction without malice or attitude. And if you cannot correct yourself at the end of the day, I don't believe, as what Dwayne said, it was not home training, because again, we also understand her home life. So don't put home training on that. I won't say that, because at the end of the day, this has nothing to do with home training, because once you leave your home, it's upon you to do whatever you learned from. So don't put that on home training. I'm just simply saying that this baby girl, she, at this point, it was a lesson learned. So at the end of the day, just take this moment. Take this moment and say, listen, I lost that one. I lost that one, and I'm good on that one. Let's move on to the next. I appreciate the fact that she sat there and she recognized those ladies, but at the end of the day, it's almost like you don't get to spit in somebody's face and then say, oh, but I did this and that. So it's like you can't play one and then do the other. So we can't talk about the being authentic self in one regard, but then turn around and think that, you're going to be received or receptive in another, because truth be told, Zach, if we are to really have that argument, then we talk about Lil Nas X again. He's being himself, but at the end of the day, our arguments have been, you say, was about attention, or is he being himself? So it's like, you got to be careful about the arguments that we have when we talk about being ourselves. Now, again, you were on my side with that one, but I'm just speaking the statement of, these arguments that we have. So no, we can't just show up every day and be ourselves. There's just certain things that we have to do in order to sustain the roles that we have. So and that might be
I'm
you.
showing up snapping. I'm showing
And
up.
that might be you. That's not everybody.
Anywhere that I cannot bring my full self, I'm not going. And so if that's someplace that, you know, if you make the decision to chip away against who you are in order to be in a place because it gives you some level of satisfaction that is, you know, greater than the satisfaction that you get from being yourself, then by all means go. But for me, I've never been in any space that I felt like I could not, you know, especially professionally, I would never take myself into a place that I cannot fully and authentically be myself.
But the beautiful
and that's what I'm working for every day. Thank you, Darius.
It's beautiful, but guess what, Darius and Zach? Everybody doesn't have that luxury.
Right.
Everyone doesn't have that ability.
It's a privilege that we,
you know, again,
you cannot tell me to choose to paint my nails over feed my family. You can't tell me
to paint your nails.
You can't tell me to do what I want to do in a moment, to be trendy, to express identity when I have responsibilities and bills to pay. It doesn't work that way for everybody. And I don't understand why you don't see that. But again,
they would tell you to cut your hair because this might not be seen as professional. Would you do that now?
If my job right now told me to cut my hair, I would have to cut my hair.
They're not doing it
because I know the likelihood of me being where I need to be financially at a moment's notice without this job isn't there. There's some things in the moment that means more to me than my hair. And I have family responsibilities that matter way more than my hair.
Well, I mean, that's to each his own.
Well, not me. I'd be marching right on down to 11 Alive to let them know that these people trying to make me change my hair. We're going to see who lasts the longest at this company.
But my thing is for you, Darius and Zach, and I'm not living in your shoes, but the way you two present yourself to me is that you still have a standard, even in the midst of you embracing who you are and giving who you are in your professionalism, in your industries, in all these respective places or what have you. There is still a caliber, there is still a quality, there is still a premium, there is still a standard that you still just abide by yourself. And so when I say media training, when I say public relations training, just simple things of learning how to complete your sentences, simple things of learning how to just be a little bit more articulate. I do believe that you can still be yourself and do your own swag and, you know, all these things, but I still believe that there is a balance between the two, where if I am the freaking president of the United States, everybody may not understand my Southern dialect. Now, there are certain nuances and things that I can do or what have you, but there's still a standard and a premium and a quality that I want to possess, that I want to live up to in the midst of still having ownership in who I am. And I think it's a balance and it's a finesse or just a better way that I think she'll be able to navigate in the future. So when I say media training, I mean, we can bring Monica into this conversation. Monica is a roundaway College Park Southern girl. And when she interviews well, but you still hear College Park coming out of her. You still hear North Clayton High School coming out of her, but she not coming around talking like so on and so forth down the street. So that's what I'm saying. Like there's an essence to it that I think if you still want to bring in those multi-million-dollar contracts and get in those, you know, places or whatever the case is, there's still a premium and a standard that you should just want to abide by, period.
And I think it comes down to like your career fields. When you're in certain career fields, you can do certain things and you have a certain level of flexibility that you may not have in other career fields. And that's just the nature of the world that we live in. I have a career in sales, and I want to make sure that I am able to relate to my client to make those sales.
To each his own.
And I also want to go on record. I don't want to be misconstrued that I am saying that I don't want Sha Carri to be who she authentically is. And if who she is someone with a nasty, bad attitude, she can be empowered to have that nasty, bad attitude. All I'm saying is, in the same way that I don't like the attitude of Lil Nas X, Floyd Mayweather, I also don't like the attitude of Sha Carri Richardson, right? Like, I don't like that attitude in anybody. So for me, it's a consistent dislike of that kind of response from anybody given a platform. I believe that when God elevates you to a certain place, you need to have a certain level of responsibility for what he has done for you. And her arrogance betrays that, in my opinion. But let me tell you someone whose arrogance does not betray it, in my opinion, Vince. Although you attacked my girl previously when she was calling out her million, 10 million, 50 million. To me, that wasn't arrogance. To me, that was facts. We are talking about the one and the only Queen Beyonce Knowles Carter, who today broke the internet again with the announcement that she and Jay-Z would be a part of the brand new Tiffany campaign, hashtag, I think it's called About Love.
Yeah.
You see this image here. Darius, tell us about what Mother Bay has done.
Yes. Okay. Of course. So, of course, we look at Beyonce as one of the queens of this nation and of this world. Iconic, and she is the moment. She is the icon. She is your favorite celebrity's favorite celebrity, and now she is the face alongside Jay-Z of the Tiffany & Co. campaign called About Love, as Zach just mentioned. This photo was taken by photographer Mason Poole, and it is a interpretation of one of Audrey Hepburn's wears from 1963, Breakfast at Tiffany's. One thing about it, she is wearing a diamond that is 128.5 carats. It was discovered in 1877, and it's only been worn by 3 other people. Lady Gaga wore it to the Oscars in 2019. Audrey Hepburn wore it at the in the Breakfast at Tiffany's movie. And it is the diamond that's being worn for this advertisement campaign. So we just brought it today. I think there's some historic value in the portrait that is behind them. Is it Basquiat? Is that who it is? Tell us more about it.
That is actually today was the first time the world saw this by Jean-Michel Basquiat. That is the artist. This was a young man. He was known as a neo-expressionist painter. It was a movement that became really huge in the 80s. Andy Warhol, was a part of it. This young man unfortunately died of a heroin overdose at the age of 27, but he was heralded as the moment then. And he has henceforth become an actual icon in the art world. To have a Basquiat is like a huge deal. And again, the fact that this was one that was not seen before and unknown, that is the perfect Tiffany blue. It was just really perfect. Really perfect. And again, it's Jean-Michel is how you would pronounce that name. But again, I'm really excited for people in younger generations to learn about him, because he was a big deal, setting the art world on fire, had the right connections, played the game well, and then unfortunately lost his life at the age of 27. So I'm excited for people to discover him and to find out more about him and to really learn more about this whole entire art style that was big and just, faded away.
And of course, Beyonce is the first Black woman to wear this iconic Tiffany diamond, which is also worth mentioning. I just want to know, guys, what are your thoughts on the campaign? Are you fangirling like the rest of the world, or are you or fanboying? If you're sensitive about your pronouns, how are you feeling about this internet breaking moment today?
Darius, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. But all I'm going to say is I just get excited when I see, Black, strong Black men and women just, taking over. And I'm just either way, I'm just excited either way. You know what? Keep those earrings on. Everybody worried about you. Whatever. I know what you do. Anybody worried about you. But I'm just excited nonetheless. And so I say, as he called it, Mother Bay. I say, yes, we celebrated out of Mother Bay and continue to do just keep striving. I'm excited. That's it. But Darius, I guess
I have long loved Tiffany. Love Tiffany. And even though I don't have a yellow diamond, I have this right here. So I went ahead and put this on. It's the best I could do.
Look, DeAndre, you made Beyonce sound like somebody that's gonna sit on the front pew wearing all white.
Right. Yes.
For the bank.
Listen, that's what he said. Listen. I don't listen. Unfortunately, I'm not like Zach. I can't afford Tiffany. I can just afford Keisha. So
I was like, is that Tiffany or Tiffany?
I can't afford none of it.
If it was Tiffany, you know it wouldn't be on my body.
Culture catch.
No.
You know what? One thing for me that I really appreciate Beyonce is the fact that she is so precise and diligent to when she just tributes somebody, pays homage. I know the shoot, or her look rather, was around Audrey Hepburn. And I just really think, just going back to her tributing Tina Turner and Barbara Streisand and just all these iconic and remarkable women in roles, like she, to the fact that she sounds like them, moves like them, Dream Girls, the Diana Ross, like she really takes tributing people and respecting them to a whole nother level. So I just have to shout her out and just acknowledge that piece of her artistry, because a lot of people can't do that. And it also makes me wonder, like, when it's time for Beyonce to start receiving her tributes and receiving her flowers and performances and stuff, I don't know if anybody can do that. She may have to tribute herself. Like, I honestly thought about what artists, maybe Solange could do something, her sister, family ties, but like I wonder about that. But I think Beyonce just hit it out the park with this one. She looked beautiful.
The day, Beyonce is a long way away from getting her flowers. Beyonce, I am certain, will have a long, beautiful life ahead of her. I don't see any evidence of crack being whack in her life. And so I really firmly believe that she has a long road ahead of her. And in that long road to come, the new Supreme will emerge. The new Supreme will emerge. And in the exact same way, Beyonce's actually trained her attributor, possibly so. It is good at lifting up others. And while we are waiting on the new Supreme to emerge, many people are also waiting on the new platform to emerge that will replace the platform known as OnlyFans. Breaking the internet this past week also was the news that OnlyFans, which has become a $20 million online industry, was now going to no longer allow for explicit nudity on their website, when we all know that that is the primary way that they have made their fortune. They're turning their backs on many of the entertainers or influencers or content creators that made them their $20 million. And so while we're talking about the next Beyonce, I'm hoping that for those people out here in the world that make an honest living doing this type of work, that a new platform will emerge that will take the place of OnlyFans and really give these content creators a chance to continue their income streams. And when we talk about income streams, I'll make myself big to share this actual data with you, because some of you may be out there watching and you may not be as familiar with OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a platform that anyone can use. You can go on OnlyFans. It's not just for nudity or soft types of porn, but anyone can be on that platform to share with people or their fans. Maybe we five guys, we should take our butts on OnlyFans because we need some fans, not for nudity, but to gain some financial support for the show. You know that we have internet issues, lighting issues. We need upgraded computers. And you guys watch, y'all ain't gave nothing. Y'all ain't gave no money. And so let's break down and talk about the earnings. I'm going to blow this up very quickly, briefly. These are the top OnlyFans earners in America. And these names may be familiar to some of you. Number one in the United States is Black China with 16.2 subscribers, and she brings in an estimated earnings of $20 million a year. Bella Thorne, who absolutely does some wonderful nudity work, $11 million. Cardi B, $9.34 million. Tiger, or whatever, he's a rapper of some sort. Popping babies here and there with some Jenners, $7.69 million. Mia Khalifa, $6.42 million. Eric Mena, $4.49. Again, this is a multi-million-dollar industry. And these people, and again, you have other celebrities out there, like this young man who was a part of a Netflix documentary that I saw. He is Flashman Wade. He said he makes $100,000 per month. Now, all of these individuals are going to lose this income stream come October 1. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
If five guys Oh, I'm sorry, Vince.
I think they backtracked their statement. They put out a statement saying that they're not going to ban sexually explicit workers. I guess the reason why they said they were going to was because of the credit card companies, which didn't make sense to me because it's like, what does that have to do with what type of content creator you are? Like, if you're just a normal person, wouldn't that affect them too, or what have you? But because this is what they're primarily known for, and because that's how they reap majority of their money, it just seemed like just a bad business move. On the other side, they also said that they were losing potential investors. And so I'm sort of like, what were you like? Why are you trying to be the next YouTube? Like, what's the, I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, trying to figure out their motive of what they're aiming to be at the end of the day, if you will. But they did backtrack on a statement saying that they weren't shutting sex work down.
So I haven't seen that. I think what I saw was they're still going to allow, like, one-on-one nudity of sorts, but maybe some of the explicit unity of people actually engaging in sex would not be allowed on the platform. I want to say this because I've seen a lot of people say this, Carter, where people online are saying, people got to go back to their jobs. I don't think it's time for anybody to go back to any kind of job like that. Nobody should be working a job that they're not passionate about. If you are passionate about construction, you are passionate about bus driving and that type of service, that's what you need to do. But if that's not your passion, you don't need to do that. You need to use the talents and the skills and the gifts that God gave you. And God has given every single person different talents, different skills, and different abilities. Some people are extremely beautiful people. Some people are extremely physically attractive people. And if this is how God has blessed them, and if they are prospering in that way, then this is a part of their journey and what they are meant to be doing. And I stand by what I said.
I agree with you, Zach. I don't like the people who've been making those sideways comments. I think that everybody should have the opportunity to make money as they see fit. However, I will go on record saying today that if Five Guys on Live decides to take its platform to OnlyFans, that would be my last day on Five Guys on Live. I will not be on OnlyFans for anything. And I would not shame sex workers, but if that's what you do, then that's what you do. I wouldn't want to associate with OnlyFans because of the association with sex work. I would not be having an OnlyFans link in my bio. I've never subscribed to anyone on OnlyFans because there's a lot of free pornography that already exists.
Come on, Twitter.
Right, people on Twitter and on other websites that host free porn. However, I don't like people shaming sex workers because get it how you live, and then also it just sounds a little jealous to be like, oh well, OnlyFans shut down. What y'all gonna do now? Like, how y'all gonna get that money now? I'm like, what?
It is jealousy. It is jealousy. Everyone has a place to play in society. Sex work has been in existence in civilization since there's been civilization. It's time for us to evolve our thinking and to evolve our mentality. And the thing is, everyone is enjoying the sex work at some point because you are looking at the sex workers. And so why are you sitting here now judging them in the jealousy? It makes me very angry. I'm very passionate about this issue because I firmly believe that everyone should work in their gift and that everyone should be allowed to prosper and thrive and contribute to our world. I just believe it, and I honestly don't.
But do you honestly truly believe that's a gift?
Yes.
God give all us the opportunity to procreate and to do that.
Zach,
we all can do that. We all have that gift. So
Zach,
I don't know if it's truly.
This is what I believe. Let me try to explain it even. This is another part of my philosophy. Another part of that philosophy is this: I don't believe that anything that you do, if it is going to prosper, it is because it is a part of your journey and a part of your path and a part of what you're meant to do. I don't believe that Black China will be making $19 million if it was not ordained as a part of the journey that she's on. I believe that when you are in the flow of your destiny that God has put you on earth to be to do, that is when you prosper. And when you're not prospering, when you're struggling, when you're hurting, when you're suffering, that is when you are not in the flow and you need to pull out of the flow. Now, if Black China is unhappy, if she is not satisfied, if that's the case, then she's not in the flow. But again, this is what I believe, and this is how I live my life, and that's how I measure my happiness. And that's how I know that I'm in the flow of what God wants me to do.
So you measure your happiness by the money you have.
I said that was one indication. You see how you hung up on one thing. You see how you took one thing I said and you hung up on it. You took one thing I said. I came right behind that statement and I said, if she is not happy, that is a sign she is not in the flow. But you took one thing I said and you misconstrued it.
God's sitting in heaven like, no, why am I in it? Now, how did I get No, why am I?
If I'm struggling, I'm not in the flow of God, which is astonishing to me.
Look, Zach,
yes, it is what I believe.
Everybody has the ability to have sex, but is everybody good at it?
That's the thing. That's the question. That's real, Darius.
But who's to say they're good at it? They put on a show.
But you have
like 10 million.
I'm not knocking it.
There are tons of people who are prospering, who, as he said, not in the flow of God. So, you know, you just because you can do it don't mean you're in the flow. That just means you were gifted. I mean, you were just able to do it. Doesn't mean you're gifted, nor does it actually mean that you're actually in the flow. It just means that you made the choice and you have the ability to do. Just because you have the ability to do something does not necessarily mean that you are actually in alignment with what you should be actually doing. It just means you have the authority and ability to do it. So I don't necessarily say that we're operating in the flow of God. It just means that you just have the ability to do it. And you made the choice to do it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I stand behind somebody saying that this is your gifting and you're operating in a flow. I just simply say you were given, as God gives you, free choice and will to do the thing which you are able to do. And because you had free will and able to do so, utilize to do it. But it does not mean that you are in the will of God, because of the fact that I know they say that the wealth is laid up for the wicked as well. So let's just be very clear about that. So just because you got wealth does not mean that you're in the flow. So I just want to make sure.
When did I say that? You have twisted it around. Daniel Black on here. Look at Daniel Black. Daniel Black, who does not know me, is not taking what you said and twisting it. Stop twisting what I said around.
No, we're only basing off of what you said. Now, if you have amnesia,
I gave a full clarification in the same statement.
No, but I'm using a partial of what you said as pertains, because I can only base upon what you said, because I got to be very clear that if
you hear the whole statement,
but you can't use a statement like your gifting. Well, operate in the flow of God. And in essence, you have to be mindful. When we make statements like that, we're only making half statements, which again states that you can be out of the will of God and still be prosperous. And so I'm not necessarily saying that at the end of the day that it's your gifting, because I also don't believe that. I just don't know if it's actually a gift. I don't know if it's a gift, but I will say that
I believe it is a gift. I stand by exactly what I said. You can believe what you believe, and I believe what I believe.
And we don't have anything against that. Believe who you believe and believe what you believe. But we don't believe what you believe.
Believe what you believe, but I don't believe that.
I don't believe what you believe, and I hope you keep on believing.
Thank you, Calvert.
And give us our 365 days of Black history.
Yes, okay. Zach sounds a little upset, but who wasn't popping it over and busting it wide on OnlyFans? Booker T. Washington, who on this day in 1900 founded the National Negro Business League. This league came before the United States Chamber of Commerce by 12 years, and it strived to enhance the commercial and economic prosperity of the African American community. So that is our Black History 365 moment for the night. Our after show will be hosted on OnlyFans tonight. So everyone get your wands together because we want to make sure that everybody is in the flow of God and that they're getting the gifts and the prosperity that they need.
So we
Coming
are
from the
going
person
to
who
have
believes.
not on OnlyFans.
Oh, not like
I said, coming for the person who's leaving once we go to OnlyFans.
That is going to be, it is not OnlyFans, but it is Instagram Live. So do join us on Instagram Live, and you can donate on Instagram Live through their badges. So you can do that so that we can keep Darius as a part of the show and not have to transition over to
do it like it's your
OnlyFans.
Shut up, Darius.
Thank you all for joining.
Thanks, y'all.